Good morning. My name is Chris Adam with You Pleasure Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Thomas Hancock from Claas. Hello there, Thomas.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for giving up your time to speak to me this morning. And I guess my first question has to be, can you tell me a bit about Claas and what it is you do?
Yeah, good morning. So I'm Thomas Hancock. I'm the after sales director for Claas. We are an agricultural dealer based in East Anglia. So we would cover the counties of Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, Kent, Cambridgeshire, Leicestershire and Northamptonshire for predominantly the Claas products. So tractors, combine harvesters and agricultural machinery. But we also are involved with lots of other types of agricultural machines as well. So we would be responsible for the selling of the product directly to the end user, but also the service of the product afterwards, and also the supply of spare parts for those machines as well. So today, as a business, we have 7 locations based around East Anglia. We employ just around 115 people, and turnover-wise, we'd be around about £75 million a year. So yeah, quite a large company from that point of view.
Well, and it's really interesting. You sort of touched on some of the departments there and the sort of to facilitate all the different parts of the organisation. For someone who's maybe not familiar with after sales as a department, can you sort of maybe talk me through it, sort of, what you do as a department?
Yeah, certainly. So after sales is probably 3/4 of our business. If we consider that out of the 115 people, probably nearly 80 of them will be in the after sales department. So what's after sales? Great question. So really it's parts and service. So we have our parts departments where we would supply everything from a nut and bolt all the way through to engines, gearboxes and every single component on any one of our machines. And then on the flip side of it, it's then the engineering side. So when a machine breaks down, whether it be in the field or basically prepping a new machine ready for delivery, that would be undertaken by a team of engineers that would basically repair and get machines ready for customers.
And you touched on it there. So you've got, as you say, like the sales side, the engineering side. What other kind of sort of departments and teams do you have to, as say, facilitate all of the different things that the company does?
So yeah, again, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and probably it's the unsung heroes of the business. So the salesmen, the engineers, and our parts people are probably the front of house that the customers see every day of the week. But there's a whole team of people behind the scenes that actually make us run as a business. So everything from accounts departments to administration departments to IT departments and everything else in between, as well as us as senior managers. So yeah, there's actually a lot that goes on behind the scenes from just the obvious things that we'd see at front of house.
It's always really interesting when you speak to organisations that, you mentioned departments there that sort of, I'd think that based on description of company, I think, oh, you're going to be 75% engineers, as you say, and sort of sales. But then when you actually talk to people, you actually get surprised that no, there's still HR department, still people who need to be dealing with customer service, as you say, after sales, and all those different areas. And sort of, I know the skills will vary from role to role within the organisation, but if there are any sort of skills or traits that you'd say that everyone within the organisation has, what would you say they were?
I think it's a desire to want to come to work and be a part of something. And for me, really, as an industry, we're quite guilty of pigeonholing people for agricultural experience. And me myself, I don't come from a farming background. I just fell into the industry and found something that I really love. And generally, most people that work with us have a passion for what we do. And the agricultural industry is quite old-fashioned generally in its approach. If we look at a lot of our customers, and the industry's in a big change period where we're seeing a whole new generation of people coming into the industry, and I'll be honest, the technology is moving very, very quickly, and that really is changing the way we operate as a business and our customers do, and that really is having an effect on the people we employ and the type of people we need, because it's not just about having an understanding of what the machines do and why people do what they do. That's important, but also we're needing a totally different level of engineering expertise and understanding of electronics and technology, which we've never had before.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about the progression of the industry, and as you say, that changing the kind of people you're looking to employ. If there's a young person maybe looking to get into the industry, so based on the changes and the way things are progressing, what kind of things are you looking for in terms of skills, experience, things they're putting on their CV, which would make you think actually you'd be a really good fit within the organisation for all the changes that are going on at the moment?
I think from my point of view, I see a lot of CVs, and I'll be honest, if I was to see 200 or 300 CVs a year, I probably sit on 50 or 60 interviews a year, you start to see quite common things. And from my point of view, we're always looking for one, try and make sure things are tailored towards ourselves. So blanket approach to employers is good because it gets you exposed to a lot of people. But what we really want to see is someone that actually wants to work with us. The covering letter probably is just as important as the CV. For young people, it's really difficult to have experience, but it's trying to find things that are relative. And what we're always looking for is the transferable skill. So you may not have ever seen or worked on a combine or a tractor, but really what we're looking for is the transferable skill and someone proving to us that they can have a skill level and adapt it into what we do. And the other big thing I always look for is personality. I'm looking for somebody that has interests outside of work, that wants to be a part of what we do. And you can have the most qualified person in the world want to come and work for you, but if they don't have a personality and you can't get on with them and you don't think they'll fit with the team, it just won't work for us. So yeah, to me, what you are about as a person, and don't be embarrassed about what you do in your spare time and all those kind of things, because for me that's really important. And it could be, prime example could be someone who, I don't know, works on Land Rovers in their spare time and is into off-roading or likes modified cars or something like that. To me, that's a transferable skill. And don't get me wrong, it takes a bit of time, but if you have a basic understanding of mechanics and how things work, the basics are the same no matter what you're looking at. And really it's then how we can then fulfill that knowledge and backfill it with agriculture knowledge.
That's really interesting. And you talk about agricultural knowledge there. You mentioned briefly earlier how you you were within the organisation didn't have an agricultural background. With a lot of the employers I've spoken to, there's been a lot of fear they've talked about for young people about getting into sectors where maybe, as I say, they haven't grown up with that experience. It's not, it's something that maybe they might be passionate about, but it's not something that's been heavily present in their lives. Speaking as you, who's come into a role with an organisation where, as I say, maybe you don't have that background, what kind of things have you found or have you done to really, as you say, sort of immerse yourself in it and, as you say, sort of become passionate about, the products you're dealing with on a daily basis?
Yeah, so if I turn the clock back, I would consider myself to be a young person. Probably for most people, I'm not these days. But I started as an apprentice. So I came from a family of I lived on a housing estate. I didn't grow up in the country. I grew up in a town, but I was very lucky to go to a school that was in the country. And I grew up in Kent, and the school had a farm attached to it, a young farmers club. And at the time, it was a way of escaping school. I'll be honest, I didn't get on well at school. I didn't get on very well with the academic side of school, and I was always looking for an escape. And I'll be honest, Young Farmers offered me that, and it was a way that during breaks and lunch times, it was away from the school. It was something different. And at first, it was about showing animals and looking after animals. And the person who looks after the farm actually had a farm, and every so often, a tractor would arrive to take the muck away from the school farm. And at that point, that just was a penny drop moment to me that, wow, that's fascinating. It's the typical male syndrome of big machine, big wheels, big tires, and something completely different. And something really got to me, I'll be honest. And once I sort of got more immersed in it, I started doing weekends working on the farm, just didn't get paid, just really wanted to learn all about it. And yeah, something really connected with me. And from quite an early age, probably I would have been age 12 or 13. I was very clear that I wanted to work in agriculture, and it was definitely machinery I wanted to be a part of. And went and visited colleges, open days, and to learn what routes were open to me. I started life, I didn't go straight to work. I went to college for a couple of years and learnt agricultural engineering at the local college in Kent. And then off the back of that, really decided that an engineer was what I wanted to be. And I managed to get myself into an apprenticeship with a local dealership very similar to Man's, and started my life there. And really, it's just about putting the effort in. And what you have to do is the industry we're in is still an industry where if you work hard, you do the best that you can, it's still recognized. It's not about who you know and how qualified you are. It's about what you do and how you do your job. And for me, yeah, was an apprentice, worked long hours, worked as hard as I could, and then that becomes recognised. And for me personally, I moved on to the sales side of the business quite early on in my career, and that then gives you builds a different skill level. So for me, that then built a skill level of relationships with people and how to talk to people, and the agricultural industry, unlike some other industries, is still very much built on relationships, and our customers are returning customers. That's what's very unusual compared to some industry, where you sit behind a counter and someone comes to you to buy something. In our industry, we have to go to the customer and persuade them to buy from us. Well, if we're going to a customer wanting them to spend £700,000 or £800,000 with us, that's not just going to happen on a wing and a prayer. It's something that's built up over years of getting to know people and them gaining trust in you as a person. So yeah, there's a big part of that as well. And then, yeah, for me, just worked my way through sales and then naturally moved into management. So, yeah, again, I'm not massively academic. If you to look at my own CV and probably some of my colleagues in the industry, a lot of us that are in senior roles within the industry are not highly academic people. And we're very practical people. I'm still very much at weekends, I still get my overalls on and fix machines. And that's still very much something I like to be involved with. Not quite the day to day anymore, but yeah, that's still a part of a lot of us that are involved with these businesses.
Well, a really interesting sort of summary of your career path, and you say sort of, some of the epiphany moments you had, and some of the skills you've learned along the way. And it leads me quite nicely on to my next question, which I will prefix by saying I know there's no such thing as a typical day. No such thing doesn't exist. But if we're to take your role specifically, what do the good days look like, and what do the challenging days look like?
I think I joke with a lot of people, and I think for anyone that's run a business or employs people, that we would joke that if you didn't have customers and staff members, life would be very easy. And probably the challenging days are the challenges when you have whether it's a customer challenge, whether it be we've done something wrong, or a customer's unhappy with something we've done, or whether it be on the flip side that we have a staff member that's unhappy for various reasons, whether it be a staff member wanting to leave, we have an internal dispute with staff. They can be really challenging days. And what's intriguing with relationships and people is just when you think you know somebody, Monday morning comes around and a curveball gets chucked your way that you didn't see coming. And that for me as a person, I still struggle with those day to day of the emotional side of that side of things, that when you think you know something, you suddenly realize you didn't know as much as what you thought you know, and that can be a real challenge. The good days, yeah, for us when we get something right, and we do occasionally get praise from customers, and when we've moved heaven and earth to make everything happen as well as we could do. So we could have a customer that's had a massive catastrophic failure with the machine, massive pressure on us as a business to rectify that, and we do everything we can to make that machine move again. And yeah, when you are in a field and all of a sudden the machine is back working again and the customer's happy, I'll be honest, there's no feeling like it. It's a really great feeling to be a part of that. For me personally, not so much. I don't get to go to the field as much as I should do to see that kind of thing, but clearly I'm behind the scenes helping our team facilitate that. So yeah, that side of things is really great.
It's really interesting actually when you talk about, as I say, the sort of resolution part of this, because as I say, the resolution is literally something is starting up again, or as I say, there is going to be a nice moment to it where, as you say, the machinery or the equipment, it's whether it's being replaced or fixed, there's going to be that nice moment where you imagine your customers actually going, oh, thank goodness for that, which, as I say, I'm guessing is sort of, as you say, the inspiration for the good days.
Yeah, it is. I mean, our industry, I'm not going to deny it. It's a tough industry. The customers are very tough on us. The machines, they're big. They're really, a lot of the components are very heavy, and the conditions they work in are quite unsocial. So with combines, it's always summertime. It's always on the weekend when you want to go for a barbecue with your friends that you're working, and it tends to be 25, 30 degrees hot, and it's dusty, and it's quite a miserable place to work at times. But I can assure you, on that Sunday evening when you've spent all afternoon trying to get a machine to work and you're sat at the side of the field with the sun starting to go down with a machine working, I'll be honest, there's no feeling like it. It's a great place to be, and there's far worse ways to make a living, I can assure you.
That's brilliant and lovely to hear, and it leads quite nicely on to my final question actually, and I've asked this to all the employees I've spoken to, and you talked to me about sort of your journey and the kind of your passions and sort of and the things you've liked, and maybe some of the different experiences you've had. If you could go back and speak to, say, your 17 or 18-year-old self, taking into account, successes you've had, mistakes you may have made and learned from, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Oh, it's a really great question, and I'll be honest. I'm one of the lucky people in life that I had a plan, and I talk to a lot of our youngsters in the business and try and talk about development, and everybody today seems to be on a rush to succeed and get to the top. And the one thing I try to install to everybody is that you have to have a personal plan, and you don't get anywhere in life without having an understanding of where you're going to get and how you're going to get there. And I didn't become a director of a business without having that. And that to me is the advice I'd give to anybody, is have a personal plan of what you want to achieve, whether it be in 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, and make it happen. Because the reality of the situation is, if you don't put yourself out and make it happen, no one's going to do it for you. And it could be any number of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be work related. It can be personal achievements, work achievements. It could be something completely different, but you have to make it happen. And that to me is the most important thing. And there'll be decisions that you make that might not necessarily be popular with everybody, but if it's part of what you want to achieve, you occasionally have to make tough decisions.